The market on Kellen Station smelled like metal and dust, old oil and boiled grain. It was loud with barter calls and the cough of generators. And a thin yellow light hung over everything like tired smoke. The human stood near a broken pillar and watched the crowd. He was only passing through. He had come for a filter coil and a pack of water tabs. He had not come to buy a life. But the sisters pushed through the aisle with a girl between them, and the whole market seemed to lean in. The girl was small for her species. Wrapped in a torn travel shawl, her wrists were tied with red cord. She moved like a shadow that wanted to disappear. The older sister shouted to a trader, "Rations, we want rations, full sack." Her voice was sharp. Her eyes were hard. The younger sister held the red cord and kept jerking it. The girl did not fight. She kept her eyes down. The human saw more. He saw the thin line of scars on the girl's neck. He saw the careful way she breathed, as if each breath cost money. He saw the faint silver marks on her skin that the others tried to hide. He did not know what those marks meant, but the sisters did, and so did some in the crowd, because he heard small, ugly laughs. A merchant with iron rings in his ears came forward. He had a crate full of ration bricks and an old weight scale. "How much for the cursed one?" he asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. He enjoyed the word cursed. He chewed it like sweet fruit. "She is not cursed," the girl whispered, but no one listened. The older sister slapped the side of the crate. "1 sack," she said. "Sealed. Not the cheap mix. We want ship grade. The whole sack for her." The human felt the market close around them. Like a fist, traders turned their heads. Guards at the far gate did nothing. A pair of hungry boys climbed a stack of scrap to see better. The hum of the station fans beat slow and heavy. "Half a sack," the ringed merchant said. "She is thin. She will not last. You will not get a full sack for bones." The younger sister dragged the girl forward and yanked the shawl aside. The silver marks showed clearer now, a pattern like leaves and frost along her collarbone and across one shoulder. Someone in the crowd hissed. Someone else spat on the ground and muttered a prayer. "Full sack," the older sister said again. "Her marks will bring trouble if we keep her. They will bring profit to someone else. Full sack, or we walk." The girl flinched at the words. The red cord shook in her hands. She still did not try to run. She knew there was nowhere to run. There were walls and watch lights and men with calm eyes who sold many kinds of things. The human took a half step forward and stopped. He told himself it was not his fight. He told himself that every world had its own ways. He told himself, too. By his coil and leave, he had told himself the same in many bad places. Most days, it worked. He looked at the girl again and felt the lie of it in his chest. A tall scavenger with a long coat cut into the haggling. He belonged to the scrap guild. The orange badge on his collar said so. He jabbed his thumb at the ration sack. "Full sack for her, I'll pay it. But I want proof she won't burn my crew with those marks." "Marks are only paint," the older sister said at once, too. Fast, too bright. Lies had a sound. The market heard it. The scavenger smiled without humor. The human watched the girl's eyes. They were a quiet gray. Too old for her face, she looked at the floor, at the red cord, at the boots of the men around. She never looked at her sisters. Not once. That told him many things. A small robot rolled past, carrying boiled roots and a bucket of brine. The smell made the human think of home for a second, of a kitchen that did not exist anymore. He blinked, and the market came back, cruel and hungry. "Test her, then," someone shouted. "If you fear the marks, test her." The scavenger snapped his fingers. A worker brought a cheap scanner. He pointed it at the girl's shoulder. The screen flashed with static and died. The worker swore and hid it. The screen lit again and showed a blur of symbols. Foreign and sharp, the worker looked confused. The scavenger's eyes narrowed. He liked what he saw, even if he did not understand it. He liked the chance to own it. "Full sack," he said. "Now." He tossed a chip to the ringed merchant. "Bring the ration pack from my store sealed." The older sister smiled in relief. The younger sister pulled the cord tighter. The girl made a very small sound. It could have been a breath. It could have been a plea. It could have been the last piece of her breaking off and falling away. The human felt the little sound like a knife. He breathed out through his nose. He felt his hands curl. He could walk away. He could let the world be as it was. The coil in his pocket weighed nothing. His boots felt heavy as anchors. He looked up at the station ceiling, at the patchwork plates and the low light, at the thin wires that drooped like dead vines. He listened to the crowd counting the trade. He listened to the sisters counting their rations before they even touched them. He listened to the girl counting nothing at all. A memory rose without asking. A convoy in a desert, smoke on the horizon. A voice on a radio saying, "Stand down, not our fight," and a small hand reaching from under a crate. He had stood down once. He had never forgiven himself. The ringed merchant came back with a sack. He slapped the seal and tossed it to the scavenger. The seal chimed and flashed green. "Full, ship grade," the merchant said. Proud of his honesty for once, the crowd murmured. A deal was a holy thing here. The older sister grabbed the sack, as if she could snatch it before anyone changed their mind. The scavenger held the other end and laughed. "Leave her," he said. "Take the food." The younger sister shoved the girl so hard she stumbled and fell to her knees. The red cord cut her skin. The shawl slid to the floor. The silver marks caught the yellow light and looked like cold fire. The crowd took one sharp breath together. The human stepped forward without thinking. The move surprised his own body. His shoulder brushed a stack of scrap and a rusted panel. Fell with a clang. Heads turned. A few curses flew. He did not care. He had already moved. He lifted the fallen shawl and set it gently on the girl's shoulders. He put his hand between her and the crowd, not touching her skin, only drawing a line. The girl stared at his boots, then at his hand, then at the floor again, as if she did not understand the shape of this moment. "Stop," he said to the sisters. His voice was calm, low, steady. The word cut through the noise like a clean blade. "You will not hand her over like scrap." The older sister bared her teeth. "Who are you to tell us our trade?" she asked. "She is ours to sell. She is a person," he said. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. The market could hear the weight in it. Some people looked away. Some smiled a thin, hungry smile. They had seen this kind of trouble before and knew it usually ended with blood. The scavenger spread his hands, easy and cold. "Friend, if you want to play hero, you can pay full sack and transport fee," he said. "Otherwise, step aside." The human looked at the sack, at the green seal, at the sister's eager hands. He looked at the red cord on the girl's wrists. He looked at the silver marks. The scanner's ghost symbols still floated in his mind like fish in dark water. He did not know what they meant. He only knew what he would do. He reached into his coat and took out a small pouch. It was not heavy. Inside were credit tabs he had saved for a long passage and a quiet month. It was not enough for a full sack. Not here. Not today. He knew that. He felt the eyes of the market on his hand, on the pouch, on the girl. "I will make a different offer," he said. The words tasted like rust and rain. Not for ownership. He glanced at the girl, then back at the scavenger, for safe passage, for her choice. Laughter rippled. The older sister's face twisted. "Choice." She spat. "You think she gets choice?" The human did not look away. "Yes," he said, simple and clear. The scavenger rubbed his jaw. His eyes did a quick math. Rations meant power. The girl meant something he did not understand yet, but profit often lived in the unknown he enjoyed. Breaking men who stood in his way, he also enjoyed being paid. "Offer, then," he said. "Say it loud." The human opened the pouch and showed the tabs. The crowd leaned closer. Some frowned at the small sum. Some grinned, already tasting the fight. The guards at the gate finally started to walk over, slow, lazy, interested. The girl's eyes lifted for the first time. Gray met brown. For a heartbeat the market fell away. The hum of the fans did not matter. The stink of boiled grain did not matter. The cruel laughter did not matter. She looked at him as if she could not decide if he was real. He nodded once. A promise he had made many times and broken once too often. He would not break it today. "I offer this," he said, holding the pouch steady, "something you cannot buy in any market." He let the words hang. He had learned that silence could be a bridge and a blade. The crowd leaned in, carried by old instincts. "What is that?" the scavenger asked, amused. "What miracle does a hungry man sell?" The human's mouth was a straight line. "Trouble," he said. "If you take her, you will have mine." The laughter shattered into sharp edges. Some people stepped back. Some stepped forward. The guards were almost there now, hands near their sticks. Faces calm as flat stones, the older sister hugged the sack. The younger sister tightened the red cord until her knuckles went pale. The girl did not move. The market held its breath. The station hum grew loud enough to feel like a second heartbeat under the skin. And that was how the sale stopped being simple. That was how a sack of rations became a fuse. That was how a quiet man in a broken market decided that today he would not stand down. The scavenger's smile thinned. "Then we bargain," he said, voice soft as ash. The human did not smile. He kept his hand between the girl and the world. "Yes," he said, "we bargain." And the whole market leaned closer to hear the price, while the girl, wrapped in her torn shawl, finally lifted her head and watched the human who had chosen to stand in front of her, not behind, not above, but in the line where blows would land first. The market still trembled after the words were spoken. The human had drawn a line where no one dared. He had said the girl was not for sale. It's not for rations, not for coins. He had said she had a choice, in a place where choices were a myth. That sounded like madness. The scavenger tilted his head, his long coat whispering against the dust. His orange guild badge caught the weak light. He tapped one finger on the ration sack, slow and mocking. "A brave speech," he said, "but speeches do not fill bellies. How much are you worth, human?" The sisters sneered, clutching their food as if it was already digested. The older one hissed like a cornered rat. "He has nothing. He will die with her. Give her to the guild. The marks are poison. They will bring curses to any who shelter her." The younger one jerked the red cord again, harder this time, and the girl stumbled forward. Landing near the scavenger's boots, the crowd laughed, cruel and sharp, but the girl's eyes flicked up, just for a breath, and found the human's face again. Something unspoken passed between them, something that did not belong to the market. The human stepped forward too, not fast, not slow. His coat shifted, and the sound of old leather was louder than the crowd. He opened the pouch again, showing the dull glint of credit tabs. "This," he said, "it is all I have. Take it, and let her walk away." The scavenger's lips curled. "All you have?" He plucked one tab and bit it as if it were metal. His teeth clicked. He spat it into his palm. Enough for a half sack of grain. Maybe not enough for her. "She is more than rations now." A murmur ran through the crowd. They wanted blood. They wanted drama. They wanted to see if the human would fold like so many before him. The guards finally stopped near the circle. Pretending to stretch, pretending to be lazy, their hands rested on their shock batons, waiting to see who would. "Give them the excuse," the older sister shouted. "She is ours. We bore her, we fed her until she was old enough. She owes us. If we sell her, it is our right." "She owes you nothing," the human said. His voice was even. His hand pointed not at the sisters, not at the scavenger, but at the girl, who crouched like a shadow near the floor. "She owes no one. She is not a coin." The scavenger's smile thinned. He waved a hand, and the guards stiffened, but did not step in. He knew their price. He'd paid it before. Then fight for her. He said, "Words are cheap. Bleed for her. If you win, take her. If you lose, I take your credits, your coat, and your silence forever." The market howled. Hungry for spectacle, a fight was better than barter. A fight was a story, and stories traveled faster than ships. The sisters nodded, eager to see the human crushed. They could taste the rations already. They would not waste time grieving for their sibling. The girl's lips moved, silent. She whispered one word, the human almost heard, "Don't." It was not fear for herself. It was fear for him. He saw it in her gray eyes, wide and trembling. She had been abandoned so many times. She had learned to fear kindness, too. The human looked at the scavenger, at his wide stance, at the knife half hidden in his coat. At the iron rings in his ears that jingled when he grinned, he thought of the desert convoy long ago, of the small hand reaching for him that he had not taken, of the guilt that had followed him like a ghost. He thought of the girl's scars, the cord burning her wrists, the way she curled into herself as if she expected to be broken again. He nodded once. "I will fight," he said. The crowd roared. Someone slammed a drum. Someone else whistled. The guards shifted their feet and pretended to frown, but their eyes gleamed with interest. The sisters laughed until they coughed. The scavenger spread his arms wide. "Circle." He shouted, and the crowd obeyed, pulling back just enough to leave a ring of dust and shadow. The ration sack was dropped in the center. A prize glowing under the weak lights. The girl was dragged to one side. Her knees scraped against the iron floor. The human walked to the other side, rolling his shoulders, his boots grinding grit. The scavenger drew his knife, short and jagged. He kissed the blade as if it were a lover. His coat fell back, revealing scars across his arms. He had fought. Many times, he had won enough to live. He thought this fight would be the same. The human did not draw a weapon. He only clenched his fists. His face was calm, but his chest felt like fire. He remembered training fields on Earth, long gone. He remembered holding a rifle until his arms ached. He remembered breaking bones with his hands when no weapon was left. The scavenger lunged first, knife flashing. The crowd cheered. The human sidestepped, his boot sliding across grit, and slammed his shoulder into the man's chest. The scavenger grunted but did not fall. He swung the knife back, cutting air, almost cutting flesh. The girl flinched, pulling her cord against the floor. She wanted to scream, but her throat was locked. She had been sold, traded, cursed, but no one had ever fought for her. And the sight broke her more than the cord ever had. The scavenger slashed again, this time grazing the human's sleeve. Cloth tore. Ass! A thin red line bloomed on his arm. The crowd roared louder. They smelled blood. The sisters clapped their hands. The guards leaned closer, ready to strike when it was over. The human stepped in close, too close for the knife. He caught the scavenger's wrist, twisted, and slammed his elbow into the man's jaw. The iron rings jingled as the scavenger's head snapped back. He staggered, knife clattering to the dust. The crowd gasped. The human did not stop. He drove. A fist into the man's gut, another across his temple. The scavenger crashed to his knees, spitting blood. The human's chest heaved, but his face was still calm. He stood over him, not raising his hands for the final blow. The crowd shifted uneasy. They wanted blood. But they also wanted to live, and they knew men who fought like this were dangerous to cross. The scavenger coughed, wiping blood from his lip. He looked up, hate burning in his eyes. But behind the hate was fear. The human's shadow stretched long over him. His knife lay useless in the dust. "Yield," the human said, his voice steady. The scavenger spat, but he did not rise. He touched 2 fingers to his badge and hissed, "Take her," and choke on her curse. His pride was broken, but his life was not. He would remember this day. And maybe he would wait for another chance. The human stepped back, breathing hard. His knuckles were raw. His arm burned, but he stayed on his feet. He walked past the ration sack, ignoring it. He walked to the girl, bent down, and cut the red cord with the scavenger's fallen knife. Her wrists were free, her skin was raw. She looked at him as if freedom itself was a trick. She whispered again, this time louder. "Why?" He slid the knife into his belt and held out his hand. "Palm up, not forcing, not grabbing, because you are not a sack of food," he said. The crowd muttered. Some spat, some nodded. The sisters hugged their sack of rations and slipped away. Not daring to fight, not daring to look back, the girl hesitated. Then slowly, carefully, she placed her hand in his, as if testing if it would vanish like smoke. It did not. It was warm and solid. And for the first time in her life, someone had chosen her over food, over trade, over fear, and that was how the bargain ended. Not with profit, not with curses, but with a choice no one thought she would ever be given. The market watched in silence as the human led her out of the circle, step by step, into a world that would not forgive. either of them. But she walked beside him now, not behind, not tied, not sold. Her sisters had given her away for a sack of rations, but the human had given something else, something far heavier. He had given her a place to stand, and maybe, if she dared, a reason to keep walking. The station corridors stretched long and narrow. Lined with rusted plates and flickering lights, the air smelled of iron and burnt wires. The human walked with the girl at his side, though she kept half a step behind, as if afraid to stand equal. The crowd from the market had scattered, some whispered, some cursed. A few kept their eyes sharp, remembering the fight. The scavenger's blood was still fresh on the floor. His pride was not the only thing that had been wounded. He would not forget. The human led the girl through a service passage, quieter than the main halls. His boots echoed, steady. The girl's bare feet made softer sounds. She carried nothing, not even the torn shawl that had slipped from her shoulders. He had draped it back around her, but it could not hide the silver marks glowing, faint under the dim lights. They reached a door at the far end. A dented panel hissed as he forced it open. Beyond was a small compartment in his rented space. It was nothing more than a bunk, a crate, and a heater that ticked like an old clock. The air was warmer here, thick with recycled heat. He stepped aside. "Come in," he said. The girl froze at the threshold. Her gray eyes darted around the room as if it might trap her. She clutched the shawl tight, her lips parted, but no sound came. She looked at him, waiting. Afraid of the wrong step, he did not touch her. He only nodded once, steady, patient, after. A long moment, she stepped inside. The door closed with a tired sigh. Cutting them off from the hum of the station, the human sat on the crate and unrolled a ration pack. He set one piece on the table. The smell of grain filled the room. "Eat," he said. The girl's hands shook. She did not move closer. Her eyes burned at the sight of food. But fear wrapped her tighter than hunger. "If I eat," she whispered, voice so soft he almost missed it, "you will beat me later." The human's chest tightened. He shook his head slowly. "No one will beat you here," he said. He pushed the food closer. She stared at the piece of ration like it was a weapon. Her breathing quickened. She whispered again, "If I eat, they will take it back, and I will be punished." He leaned forward, his voice low but firm. "No one will take it back. Not me, not anyone. It is yours." For a long time, she did not move. Then, like a bird afraid of a trap, she reached out and took the ration piece. Her fingers were thin, scarred. She bit once, chewed slow, her eyes closed. A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. She ate in silence, each bite trembling, as if waiting for the blow that never came. When she finished, she pulled the shawl tighter and sat on the floor near his boots. She curled herself small, knees to chest, like someone trying to disappear. The human frowned. "The bunk is yours," he said, nodding to the bed against the wall. Her head snapped up, panic flashing in her gray eyes. "No," she whispered. "I will stay here." She pressed her forehead against her knees. "It is safer this way." He wanted to argue, but he stopped himself. He remembered the red cord cutting her wrists, the way her sisters dragged her like trash, the way the market looked at her like a curse. If the floor by his feet felt safer than the bunk, then that was where she belonged tonight. He only nodded. "Then stay."
Ow.
The heater clicked louder, filling the silence. The girl's breathing grew slower, but not calm. She did not sleep yet. She only pretended. Her hands twitched, her ears strained for sounds beyond the door. She had learned too well the lessons of betrayal. The human leaned back against the wall. His arm still burned where the knife had cut. He cleaned it with an old cloth, wincing. The girl's eyes opened at the sound. She watched him, silent, then whispered, "Why did you bleed for me?" He looked at her. His voice was steady, because no one else would. Her lips trembled, as if she wanted to say more, but no words came. She buried her face again. He let the silence stay. Some answers needed time, not questions. Hours passed. The station's night cycle dimmed the lights to a deep orange. The girl shifted in her sleep, curling tighter at his feet. Her thin shoulders shook as if she dreamed of the cord and the market again. The human bent, gently pulling the shawl over her. She stirred, eyes half opening.
"Don't leave,"
she whispered. "I won't," he said. His voice was soft but firm. She believed him, if only for that moment. Her eyes closed again. He sat awake long after. Watching the slow rise and fall of her breath, he thought of her sisters, of the scavenger. Of the scanner symbols glowing before it died, he thought of the curse they had named, the power they feared. He did not know what it meant, but he knew. It was not her fault. Outside the door, the station murmured with life, merchants counting credits, smugglers whispering deals, guards polishing batons. The world still spun, cruel and hungry. But in this small room, a different bargain had been made. The girl had been sold for a sack of rations, but tonight she had eaten without fear. Tonight she had not been struck. Tonight she had slept at someone's feet, not as a slave, but as someone guarded. The human leaned back, closing his eyes. He did not know what tomorrow would bring. Enemies would come. He could feel it. The scavenger's eyes had promised revenge. Her sisters would spread whispers of curses and marks. Hunters would smell profit in the unknown, but tonight was not about tomorrow. Tonight was about a girl who believed safety only existed on the floor, and a man who chose to let her stay there not because she was beneath him, but because trust was built from where she felt safe. The heater ticked, the air was heavy with recycled warmth, and the silence between them was fragile but alive. That was the first night, the night she did not starve. The night she did not bleed, the night she slept at his feet, not because she was owned, but because she was free enough to choose it, and though neither of them knew it yet, was also the night when the bond between human and alien began to grow roots, deep enough to withstand storms that had not yet come. The second day on Kellen Station was slower than the chaos of the market, but the tension still clung to the air like smoke. The human woke to the low hum of the heater and the faint sound of breathing near his boots. The girl had not moved far. During the night, she still curled on the floor, shawl wrapped tight around her thin frame. He stood, stretched the stiffness from his back, and checked the lock on the door. His instincts told him the scavenger or the sisters would not forget. Trouble always circled back. He glanced at the girl, still pretending to sleep, though her eyelashes flickered. She had learned to fake rest. Just as she had learned to eat quickly, to hide tears, to expect pain when he opened a ration pack. The smell drew her up from the floor. She sat slowly, cautious, as if she still feared punishment. For the hunger that lived in her bones, he pushed the food to her again, and once more she hesitated before taking it. This time, though, she whispered, "Thank you," so soft the heater almost swallowed the words. The human nodded. "Oh, you don't have to thank me," he said. "It is food. You deserve it." The girl blinked, her gray eyes uncertain. She had never heard those words, not spoken to her, not with weight. She chewed in silence. But her gaze kept sliding back to him, trying to understand why he was different. When the food was gone, he cleaned his arm wound again. She watched, then whispered, "You fought like someone trained." He raised his brow. Surprised, she had a quiet voice, but her mind was sharp. He only nodded. "Long ago," she tilted, her head silver marks glowing faint in the dim light. "Why do you fight for me?" "You do not know me." He met her eyes, steady. "Because I've seen what happens when no one fights, and I will not watch it again." The words settled heavy in the air. The girl pulled the shawl tighter, then spoke words she had held back. "For years, they called me cursed." She whispered, "My sisters, my people, all of them. They said the marks mean death follows me." She pulled the shawl aside, revealing more of the silver markings that coiled across her skin, delicate. And strange, they were not scars, not paint. They glowed faintly, like frost-catching starlight. The human leaned closer, not in fear, but in wonder. "They said I was born wrong," she continued, her voice cracked. "When the priests saw the marks, they told my family I carried a sickness from the stars. My mother wept, my father turned away. My sisters learned quickly. They said I was less than them. They beat me when I ate too much. They told me I would bring ruin. When the famine came, they blamed me. They sold me for food. and the people cheered because they thought they were free of me. Her hands shook as she spoke, as if each word cut her throat. She pressed her forehead to her knees again, hiding her tears. The human felt anger coil in his chest, not at her, but at those who had named her cursed. He leaned forward, voice firm. "You are not cursed." She lifted her head, eyes wet. "Then why do these marks burn when I dream? Why do machines break when they touch me? Why do people look at me like I am already dead?" He had no answer. Not yet. But he refused to give her silence. "Whatever the marks are, they are not your fault," he said. "Curses are lies told by cowards. You are alive. That is not a curse." The girl's lips trembled. She wanted to believe, but belief was a heavy door, and she had been locked outside it her whole life. A sharp knock rattled the door. Both of them froze. The human reached for the scavenger's knife at his belt. The girl pressed against the wall. Eyes wide, the knock came again, slower this time. A voice hissed through the crack. "Guild business." "Open." The human did not move. He stayed silent. The voice outside muttered curses and faded away. Footsteps echoed down the hall. He waited long after they were gone before lowering the knife. The girl's hands gripped the shawl until her knuckles whitened. "They will not stop." She whispered, "The guild, my sisters, the priests, they all want me gone. Then we stay ahead of them," he said. "We don't give them what they want." Her eyes darted up, fearful. "You cannot fight them all." "Maybe not," he admitted. "But I can fight enough." The heater ticked again, filling the silence. The girl shifted closer to him, almost without realizing. The space between them shrank that night. When the station lights dimmed, she curled again at his feet. This time she did not wrap herself as tightly. She let the shawl fall open, the silver marks glowing faint like starlight across her skin. She whispered into the dark, "If I sleep here, no one can take me, right?" The human looked down at her, steady as stone. "No one," he said. She closed her eyes. And for the first time in years, her breathing grew even deep. Without fear, the human stayed awake. Knife in hand, eyes on the door, he listened to the hum of the station, to the faint rhythm of her breath. And as the hours passed, he knew one truth had already been revealed: her people had thrown her away. But the marks they feared were not weakness. They were something more, something the scavenger had seen in his scanner, something the priests had lied about, something that would change both their lives. She was not cursed. She was chosen, and though she did not yet believe it, he swore silently that he would make her see it, even if the whole galaxy called her cursed. He would fight until she knew she was more. That was the hidden truth, not the one written in scars or whispers, but the one born in a room no bigger than a crate, where a human guard kept watch and an alien girl dreamed without chains. The days that followed on Kellan Station were uneasy. The human kept to the quiet corridors, buying only what he needed, never staying too long in the same place. He knew the guild was watching. He knew her sisters would spread whispers about the cursed girl, a secret never stayed buried in a station full of hungry ears. The girl stayed close, always half a step behind him. She still carried the habit of silence, but sometimes when they were alone, she would ask soft questions. "Why? Don't you sell me? Or why don't you fear me?" Each time the human answered the same way, "Because you are not for sale and I do not fear you," she would nod. But her gray eyes still doubted. On the fourth night, trouble finally came. They had returned to the small compartment, the heater ticking, the air heavy with recycled warmth. The girl sat cross-legged near the floor, tracing faint patterns in the dust. Her silver markings shimmered dimly in the orange light. The human cleaned the scavenger's knife again, sharpening its edge with quiet strokes. He knew the silence before a storm, and the air tonight was too still. The first sign was a shadow under the door, then a faint click as someone tried the lock. The human's muscles tensed. He motioned the girl to silence. She obeyed instantly, pressing against the wall, her body trembling but her eyes wide and alert. The lock sparked, and the door slid open with a groan. 3 figures stepped inside, 2 guild enforcers in gray coats, and 1 hooded man who smelled of oil and dust. The human recognized him, the scavenger from the market. His jaw still bore the bruise of their fight. His smile was thin and sharp. "Did you think it was finished?" the scavenger said softly. His voice was quieter now, more dangerous. You embarrassed me in front of the market. You cost me food, coin, and pride. No one steals from me and walks away. The enforcers fanned out, blocking the door. One carried a shock baton, the other a coil pistol that hummed with power. The girl shrank further against the wall, whispering, "No, not again." Her fingers dug into the shawl, silver marks glowing brighter. The human stood slowly, knife in hand, his. The voice was calm. "You came for her." The scavenger smirked. "Of course, the cursed one is worth more than food, more than coin." I saw what the scanner read. I could not understand it, but others will. Scientists, priests, maybe even warlords. She is worth more alive than dead. But dead will do if I must. The enforcer with the pistol raised it. The hum growing louder, the girl whimpered, her breath shallow, her silver marks flared suddenly. Brighter than before, like fire trapped under skin, the pistol sputtered, the hum breaking into static. Sparks flew from its barrel, and the enforcer cursed. Dropping it before it burned his hand, the scavenger's eyes widened, then narrowed. In greedy delight, there it is, the curse, the power, he whispered. You see, she is dangerous. She breaks what she touches. That is why her people feared her. The girl shook her head, tears in her eyes. I didn't mean to. I can't stop it. The human stepped forward. Blocking her with his body, she is not dangerous. You are, he said. His grip on the knife tightened. The scavenger laughed. Hero again. You can't fight us all. The guild owns this station. Guards, merchants, even the air you breathe. One man against all of that. No human, you will bleed tonight, and she will belong to me. The enforcer with the baton lunged, swinging hard. The human ducked, knife flashing. He slashed across the man's arm, sparks flying as the baton clattered to the floor. The second enforcer tried to grab him from behind, but the human spun, driving his shoulder into the man's chest, sending him crashing against the wall. The scavenger stepped back, eyes burning with both fear and fury. He pulled a hidden blade from his coat, long and jagged. You will not steal from me twice, he shouted, charging forward. The human met him head-on, steel clashing. The room filled with the sound of grunts, blades scraping, boots shuffling across metal. The girl pressed tighter to the wall, her silver marks flaring brighter with every strike. The air itself seemed to vibrate, lights flickering, the heater groaning as if it would fail. The scavenger swung wild, desperate. His blade scraped the human's side, drawing blood, but the human did not fall. He slammed his fist into the scavenger's jaw, then drove his knee into the man's gut. The scavenger staggered, spitting blood again, his hatred boiling. Kill him. The scavenger screamed at his men, but one enforcer was unconscious, and the other crawled for the door, terrified of the sparks that leaped from the girl's skin. The girl cried out, clutching her head. Stop! Please stop! Her voice cracked, and with it, the lights burst into white glare. The broken pistol on the floor sparked and exploded, showering the room with fire and smoke. The scavenger froze, staring at her in shock. The human did not freeze. He drove his knife into the wall beside the scavenger's head, stopping an inch from his throat. His voice was cold as stone. Leave, or you will not rise again. The scavenger's breath came ragged. His eyes flicked to the girl, greedy and hateful. But he knew when to retreat. He spat on the floor. This is not over, human. You protect a curse. Curses always burn their keepers. He shoved past the broken enforcers and stumbled out into the corridor. Silence fell heavy in the small room. Smoke drifted from the ruined pistol. The heater ticked weakly, struggling to live. The girl crouched in the corner, trembling, silver marks fading back to a dim glow. She whispered, I ruined everything. I broke it. I made them hate me more. The human knelt beside her, his hand steady as he rested it near her shoulder knot. Touching, only close so she could choose. You did not ruin anything, said firmly. You saved us. Those marks are not a curse. They're strength, and they are yours. She looked up at him, tears streaking her gray eyes. But if I cannot control it, I will hurt you too. He shook his head. Then we learned control. Together, I will not leave you. Not now, not ever, for the first time. She believed him, if only for a breath. Her hand lifted, shaking, and touched his arm lightly. As if testing if he would pull away, he did not. He only stayed, solid and unshaken that night. When she curled again at his feet, she did not tremble as much. Her breathing, though uneven, was calmer. Her silver marks pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat outside. The guild whispered revenge. Her sisters spread their lies. But inside the small compartment, the bond between human and alien grew stronger. The galaxy could call her cursed, they could call him fool, but together, they had already proven one truth. She was not a weapon to be sold. Not a curse to be feared. She was someone worth bleeding for, worth fighting for, worth keeping safe. And though storms waited beyond the door, tonight belonged to them, the human, with his knife, and the alien girl with the light beneath her skin. The next day, Kellen's station felt heavier, as if the walls themselves carried whispers. The fight with the scavenger had spread through the lower decks, and rumors always grew teeth when they traveled. Some said the human had killed 3 men with his bare hands. Others said the girl's silver marks burned through steel and cursed every machine they touched. Truth and lie blended until fear wrapped around her name. The human kept her hidden in their compartment. He left only when necessary, and even then, he returned quickly, bringing food, water, and news. He could feel eyes following him, guild thugs, merchants with greedy thoughts, even station guards pretending to look the other way. Trouble was circling closer. The girl spent most of her time by the heater. Shawl wrapped around her shoulders, she ate what he gave her, but silence still clung to her. Sometimes she would glance at him, as if wanting to speak, but fear chained her words. That night the storm broke. The human was cleaning his knife again. The metal shining under the weak light, the girl sat nearby, staring at her own hands. Her silver markings glowed faint, pulsing like quiet waves. She whispered almost to herself, "I can feel it inside me, moving, waiting." The human looked up. "Feel what?" She shook her head, clutching her shawl. "The curse, the fire, I try to push it down. But it grows stronger. It wants to come out, and if it does, I will destroy everything near me." Voice cracked, trembling. "I don't want to hurt you." He set the knife aside and moved closer. His voice was steady. "It is not a curse. It is part of you. The more you fear it, the less control you have. Fear is their weapon, not yours." Her tears filled her gray eyes. "But how do I stop it?" He thought of deserts back on Earth, of recruits who shook under the weight of their own fear, of the way he had once taught them to hold steady. "You do not stop it," he said quietly. "You learn it, you bend it until it bends to you. Power is not evil, what people do with it is." Before she could answer, the lights flickered violently. The heater groaned, metal popping as sparks shot out. The room shuddered. The girl cried out. Clutching her head, her silver marks blazed suddenly. Not faint, but blinding, they lit the room with sharp light. The human shielded his eyes, heart pounding. The air vibrated, walls humming like a struck bell. Loose items rattled on the floor. A ration pack split open, spilling grain like sand. The girl's body arched as if pulled by invisible strings. Her voice broke into a scream, and the markings burst with light. Symbols raced across her skin, patterns too quick to follow. The small compartment felt too small for the power building inside her. The human lunged forward, grabbing her shoulders. "Look at me," he shouted over the hum. "You are not alone, do you hear me? You are not alone." Her eyes snapped open, glowing silver to match her skin. Her breath came ragged, wild. "I can't stop it." "Yes, you can," he said, gripping her tighter. "But not hurting, not by running, not by fearing. You face it. You control it. Do it with me." The light flared brighter, and for a moment, he thought the room would tear apart. Sparks leapt from the heater. The door lock flickered, and the knife he had left on the floor rose into the air. Floating, spinning slowly, the girl sobbed, shaking. "It's too much. It will kill you." He leaned closer, his voice fierce. "Then let it kill me. But I will not let it kill you. Listen to me. This power is yours. It's not theirs. Not your sisters. Not the priests. Not the guilds. Yours. Take it." Something in his words pierced the storm. Her breathing slowed, her trembling hands steadied. The silver glow dimmed, not gone, but shaped, contained. The floating knife dropped back to the floor with a clang. The humming walls grew silent again. The girl collapsed forward, gasping, her head pressed against his chest, trembling with exhaustion. I thought it would burn me alive, she whispered. He held her steady. His voice calm again. It did not, because you are stronger than it. She shook her head weakly. No, because you stayed. The room smelled of smoke and ozone. The heater lay broken, sparks fading into silence. The walls bore faint scorch marks where the silver light had struck. The human knew the noise would draw attention, and soon someone would come. But in that moment, none of it mattered. The girl lifted her head slightly, her gray eyes still glowing faint, softer now, like embers instead of wildfire. What am I? She whispered. If not cursed, then what? He looked at her, at the silver running through her skin like rivers of light, and said firmly, You are more than they ever deserved. You are not a curse, you are awakening. Her lips parted, breath catching. The words struck her deeper then. Anything she had heard before awakening, it sounded like hope, like something alive, not something doomed. For the first time, she did not curl at his feet when she lay down. Instead, she sat beside him, still trembling, still afraid, but closer. Her shoulder brushed his arm, her gray eyes closed slowly. Her head tilting to rest against him, he stayed awake, watching the door, knife ready. But his heart was steady. He knew the scavenger would come again. He knew the guild would not stop. He knew her sisters might even try to reclaim her for their own greed. But now, the fight was not only his. She was no longer a shadow to protect. She was a storm, learning to stand. The galaxy had named her cursed, but tonight she had awakened, and though she did not yet believe it, he saw clearly what the truth was. Her power was not her doom. It was her beginning, and when the day came that her full strength rose, the galaxy would tremble not at a curse, but at the choice of a girl who had once slept at his feet and found her place beside him. The alarms of Kellen Station cried faint in the distance, muffled through metal walls somewhere above their small compartment. Engineers worked to repair the systems that had flickered and burned when the girl's power had awakened. Whispers spread faster than tools could fix wires. The guild wanted her. Priests demanded her capture. Merchants spoke of fortunes. Every corridor carried her name like a curse and a prayer. But inside the human's room, the air was still. He sat with his back against the wall, knife across his knees. The girl sat beside him, no longer at his feet. Her silver markings glowed soft and steady now. Like veins of moonlight under her skin, she had not spoken for hours, only leaned her head against his arm. Listening to the steady beat of his heart, at last she whispered, You should let me go. If I stay, they will kill you too. His eyes stayed on the door, steady as stone. Then they will have to try. She lifted her head, gray eyes wide. Why? I am nothing but trouble. My sisters gave me away. My people despised me, and now the guild hunts us. I am only weight dragging you down. The human turned to her, voice firm. You are not weight. You are worth every fight. Do you understand? They threw you away, but I will not. Her lips trembled, her hands curling into fists. But what if I hurt you again? What if my power kills you? Then I die knowing I stood for something real, he said. His voice was calm, heavy with truth. I will not leave you. Not now. Not ever. The words cracked something deep inside her. Tears welled in her eyes, not of fear this time, but of something she did not know how to name. For years she had been treated as less than nothing. But here, in this rusting compartment, one man had chosen her again and again, against food, against coin, against danger itself. Before she could speak, the door rattled, the human rose instantly, knife ready. The girl scrambled to her feet, silver marks flaring with fear. Shadows moved under the crack, voices whispering. The guild had come again. Ow! The door lock sparked. Metal screeching, the human braced, but the girl stepped forward. Her breathing fast, no more hiding, she whispered, no more being sold. The door burst open. 3 guild enforcers stormed inside, blasters raised, their eyes locked on the girl, hungry. The human moved to shield her, but she placed a hand on his arm. Stopping him, her silver marks blazed, flooding the room with light. Enforcers shouted. One fired, but the shot fizzled mid-air, dissolving into sparks before it reached her. The second swung a baton, but the weapon shattered in his grip, shards clattering useless to the floor. The third tried to retreat, but the door slammed shut on its own, locking them all inside. The girl trembled, her voice shaking. I don't want to kill them. Then don't, the human said. Steady, control it, make the choice. Her eyes glowed silver, tears streaking down her cheeks. She lifted her hands. And instead of fire or destruction, the weapons dropped from the enforcers' hands. Their energy drained, lights flickered but did not break. The room held steady. The guild thugs staggered back. Fear plain in their eyes, the human stepped forward. Knife low but firm. Leave, he said coldly. Tell your guild she is not theirs. No, tell them she chooses where she belongs. The enforcers hesitated, then bolted through the door the moment it slid open, vanishing into the shadows. Silence fell heavy again. The girl swayed, drained. Her silver glow dimmed. She whispered, I didn't destroy. I didn't break. I chose. The human caught her before she collapsed, lowering her gently to the floor. He brushed damp hair from her face. Yes, he said softly. You chose, and that makes all the difference. She looked up at him, gray eyes shimmering. Why do you care so much? He did not look away. Because I see you. Not a curse, not a burden, just you. Her breath caught. Her chest tightened with something new. Unfamiliar, she whispered, then let me stay. With you? He nodded once, a promise in the motion. Stay, that night. She did not curl at his feet out of fear. She lay beside the bunk, close enough to touch, her breathing soft, her silver marks pulsing gently in rhythm with her heartbeat. She was no longer the girl sold for rations, no longer the shadow at the edge of every room. She had a place, and it was here, beside the man who had chosen her. When the station lights dimmed into false night, she turned her face toward him, whispering, Into the dark, if I am cursed, then you are cursed with me, he smiled faintly, eyes closed. Then it is a curse I will gladly carry. The heater ticked weakly. The door groaned under old weight. But inside the room, something stronger had been forged, not of rations or bargains, but of trust and bond. The galaxy would still come. Hunters, priests, guilds, and her sisters with their greedy hands. But now, she was not alone. She had awakened, she had chosen. And she had found someone who refused to let her fall. The human slept with his knife at his side, the girl's light, reflecting faint on the wall. And as they breathed together in the small compartment, the bond between them settled deep, unbreakable. Once she had been sold like grain. Now she was cherished like life itself. And though storms waited beyond the station walls, she finally believed. She was not a curse. She was his, and he was hers. That was the bond that would carry them into whatever came next. A bond no sack of rations could ever buy. A bond the galaxy would never understand, but could never destroy.